Most systems in a company fail because of two things: how many types of systems you tried to roll out all at once, and how quickly you expected people to use any system on any given day accurately. If you've ever felt like you've tried to roll out a process or a system or a change in your company and it just didn't take, I'm going to show you in this video two things to look at before you start placing the blame on your team or even yourself. Hi, I'm Sarah, and I've run over 846 go-to-market launches across thousands of companies over the last 15 years. I have worked with many different types of founders, industries, teams of various sizes, and different types of setups. Some of them are fractals, some of them are employees. And these are the things that I've distilled down over time to really showcase and answer the question, how do you effectively install systems? Some people call it infrastructure, process, technology. There's a lot of different words that people use for it. But it can be really difficult to try to figure out where to first start. And then how come once you've done all the hard work and got it running, it didn't take off or do what you expected it to do? And so I've kind of set up in two buckets. First, I'm going to share my screen. Ways to think about your overarching systems. Now, this again, from a previous video of mine as well, is my brain dump, very basic structure that can either scale very high up or it can trim down if it's a smaller company. But I'm going to look and focus here on these four different types, system types that exist within a company. And the reason why is a lot of times when founders or CEOs or even operators are installing systems into a company, they're thinking about what is the bottleneck? Where are the blockers? Where are things that are going wrong that they want to improve? What's something that's happening that's a leak in time or money or energy? And it's almost like they're trying to put patches in a dam that's got these leaks coming out of it. And so they'll install a sub process of a process of a sub process here and a checklist here. And then they'll kind of talk about something here and have intentions for the next strategic planning. And then they'll roll out something that's new here. And then they'll have a VIP day or a consultant come in who builds a whole set of things here that they just say, okay, in quarter two or the next quarter, we're going to go and install all of these pieces. And you get this hodgepodge mix of random pieces of systems that are happening everywhere, everything all at once, while you're still trying to do the business as usual work. Work is not stopping to create systems. Sometimes some CEOs will actually stop all the work to create a system. We're going to pause. I don't know the amount of times I've heard this. We're going to pause on selling X. Before we go, we got a little bit of space. Before we go into the next launch, I want to look at Y. We're going to build this out fully in a prototype and then test it. And then it'll be ready for A, B, and C. And sometimes that's valid, but what you're saying is you're going to pause revenue generating activities to fix the operations of the company. Or sometimes you've got so many revenue generating activities happening that the operations of the company is unable to keep, to retain, to fulfill the promise that you've delivered. So it's this really weird mix, right? It contributes very largely to the feast or famine types of pushes that happen. And all the while, whether you are in massive amount of sales and even maybe clients being closed, but your operations are super clunky and you're disappointing people and you're not retaining, your onboarding process is bad, your team is stressed, you're stressed because you're having to fix every single client problem that's happening. Or you're taking a break from launches and you're really trying to iron out and dial in where your operations and systems are, and then you have no money coming in. So there's this very weird, one or the other kind of contributes to that overarching feast or famine type of feel that you can have in businesses sub 10 million in revenue a year. The lower you go, the more pronounced that stress is as you look at which one are you supposed to be working on, revenue generation, operations. How do you do both at the same time? But the fascinating thing is this pain point applies whether you are making $5,000 a month or you are making 10 million a year. It applies because payroll, including the cost of the CEO and founder, doesn't change. The cost of payroll only goes up usually as a business grows and scales and expands. And so because of that, whether you are focusing heavily on sales and everything is a cluster in retention, or you're focusing heavy on the operations of the company and delivery, and you're not getting enough revenue generating activities going, the constant is team payroll and the cost of the founder to sustain and maintain their life as well as the company's life. This gets really weird with the tension that happens because there's just too many variables, too many things that could go wrong, and too many things where you are duct taping the holes and just crossing your fingers that it's going to go right. Okay. So what we can't solve is this issue of everything being everywhere all at once and everything happening all the time. That is just the nature of business. That is just life. That is just commerce. That is just how it goes. It's just part of the overarching process. That is not something you can change. Can we professionally and personally develop ourselves and our teams so that we get better at adapting to making decisions, not burning out around those pieces? Yes, absolutely. But you cannot change the nature of how many variables, how many unknown things will pop up at any given time. So if you are a person who likes structure, if you like certainty, even if you're not the person building the structure, if you crave some sort of cadence and reliability, and of course, everybody wants some form of stability within their company that they can bank on, you have to be able to sort and to, even before you start to install processes, be sorting and categorizing and thinking through what those pieces might look like and how do we measure over time? How do we organize the things? How do we name it in a way that other people beyond our vision can understand and look at it? And so this is the process that I use when I'm going into any company. We bucket, the first thing we do is we bucket the types of systems that exist. Now there are 4 buckets that exist. And so I'm going to show you that in just a bit. And then the next thing that we do is once we bucket it and it exists and we plot it out and we say, you know, again, these little, every single box represents a system or a platform, tech platform or process. There are many, many, many micro checklists and other things under each box, but these boxes represent the way that I use workflows, a very flexible structure framework that I have in a company, no matter what the size, to be able to scale up or scale down what they're looking for. So we first have to bucket which outcome we are hoping that the process, technology, system, strategy, roadmap, checklist, whatever it is that we're installing, which outcome are we looking for? One of these 4, and therefore what category of systems does it support? Now, this is not about trying to label it perfectly. You do not need to spend hours really trying to think this through. This is a very loose framework. What I'm hoping that you can see is that idea of enmeshment, of trying to install this and that and that and this and this and oh, but we need this thing and oh, this and then this was annoying and then I got to call it this time from this person I shouldn't have, so there should be a checklist, and then so and so said this is the next marketing strategy and then we paid for this technology so we have to use it, right? All of that blah, all of that chaos that's happening there, that we'll be able to sort of compartmentalize it just a little bit and loosely sort it. It's kind of like doing a puzzle when you dump all the pieces out onto the table. And the first thing that a lot of people do is they go for what are the edge pieces, right? How do you make the frame on the outside? And then you might group them by color or by texture based off of the map, the picture, the final picture of what the puzzle should look like that's on the box. Systems in a company are hard because you don't really know what you want it to look like. You just know that you don't want it to feel like this because this is not great. So you want it to feel like the opposite of this, better, more professional, more excellent, scalable. I don't know, all these words that we put around it because we don't really know how to say, this is the exact photo, this is the exact map, this is the exact picture of when we're done sorting all the pieces, what it should look like. So I created this particular snapshot of a set of workflows within a company to be able to solve some of that lack of picture that exists. And there are 4 categories in it. Okay, so there are types of systems, processes, technology, trainings, checklists that are around your marketing campaigns and managing those marketing campaigns. In my branding, I call it the ready to launch system. It's marketing campaign management. So the team Okay, very keyword, not just the founder or the CEO or the marketing director or the marketing team. Anybody in the team could see in real time what's happening, what's coming up, and what's working really well or what's not working really well when it comes to traffic, lead generation, and sales. Okay, so these are the green boxes in my map, but I call it the ready to launch system. And then there is a timeline, scope, and budget tracking system. So in this system, it is basically centered around a core project management software. I use Teamwork because I really like their capabilities of being able to see data in many different ways. A lot of clients that I have use ClickUp or Asana. And so there's a Notion. There's a lot of different ways that you can use a project management system that is unique to your business, your industry, and what you need to really get tasks done. But the point is, your project management system is set up so in a way that anyone can see timeline, scope, and expectations in real time throughout a project. Now, this project can be something that is internal for your company, for your marketing campaigns, or it can be external, what you're delivering to a client or a customer with a vendor, and then it can also be like the internal can also be overarching company goals, bigger KPIs that you have, OKRs that are set up, all of those pieces of things, right? It is the timeline, scope, and budget tracking system is set up mostly around the hub that is the digital project management system. Then you have the company meeting and communication stack. This is so that your team can set up, your team is set up to be able to effectively communicate amongst each other, meaning your team is active participants who help move and drive project forward. They are contributing in ways that protect the profit margin of any particular project that they're working on, which then rolls up into protecting the profit margin of the company. And they're being able to have discourse and cross-departmental communications and keeping things going and up to date, either up the chain or down the chain or laterally, without you having to be in every single decision. And by every single decision, I know people say that a lot. Like I hear a lot of other operations things out there and people are like, free yourself from being the main decision maker. I don't think that that's necessarily true. I do think that unless you really have your intellectual property systemized out, and that's a whole different set of videos because I do that as well with a lot of companies. Unless you have all of that systemized out, you're going to be involved in a lot of the key decisions. But when I say every single decision, I mean like if, I don't know, 40% or more of your week is spent in communications, you're having problems. Like it could depend on scale. And obviously I don't know every single business. I don't know who you are specifically watching this today. And that's a very blanket general statement to make. But if you feel like 40% of your personal brain time and energy is really just going to answering questions, and here's the key, answering questions that you really truly believe they should know the answers. Whoever's asking you, clients, teams, vendors, partners, affiliates, network, whatever it is, that they should be able to know the answer. In fact, you've answered it at least 3 times before. Then this yellow bucket that you have here of the communication, company meeting and communication stack probably needs dialing in. The fourth category of systems, processes, technology, checklists, so on and so forth, is quality control. This is a really big pain point in every founder, every company that I've ever worked with, anywhere. This is industry agnostic. This is annual revenue size agnostic. The quality control of this. Okay, so these are processes, systems, technology, apps, whatever, that help to not only get the delegated tasks to the team in a way that allows them to autonomously do their work, but also that sets the team up so they can autonomously check their work and know if it's good enough, as I like to use that term, before it ships. You'd be surprised. It's such a short sentence, but it causes so much headache. And if you are in a particular business model, like an agency, or you do professional services for clients, or you even do like home services or commercial services for clients, you know how quickly 1, 2, 3 mistakes can really just snowball into a crazy effect of projects gone wrong, profit margin lost, deals lost, and sanity. Honestly, these are the things, the fires that happen nonstop, pretty much, depending on how many types of processes, systems, technology, things that you have set up to support quality control being better in the delivery of your product or not. Okay, so the very first thing is to remember. I don't expect you're not me, you're not an operations specialist with 15 plus years of experience and thousands of companies. I get it. Okay, so I'm not expecting you to be able to look at technology, a process, or a system and go, oh, I know which of the 4 buckets it goes into. That's not the point. The point of me recording this is really just to share with you that there is sorting mechanisms. And most likely, if you have had problems getting infrastructure into your company, it's because your brain is moving so fast. Whether you are the founder, you're the operator, whether you are even somebody in the team or a consultant, and your brain is going so fast, even though it feels like things are taking 8,000 years to get done. Your brain is going so fast of what you expect the other side to feel like. So you feel like maybe that you are kind of all over, everywhere, all over the place. And maybe you feel like when it comes to operations, you are very methodical and strategic. Or you might be on the other end of the spectrum where you're literally just trying to band-aid everything possible because you just need to get out of the fire so that you're not constantly burnt out at the end of the day, right? So it could be one of the two, but either way, your brain is moving so fast of what you feel like your company should be on the other side of these issues that you have, that you are actually mixing up all 4 of these boxes all the time. So there is not a way to track results and to see if the process, the system, the technology, the checklist, whatever it is, the strategy that you're deploying is actually helping to move forward and is actually being understood by somebody other than you. Just because somebody, you give this vision, I've got this new technology, this AI is going to help us, or I have this platform that everybody in our industry uses, or I have this mechanism for measuring this thing, or we got this really great strategy and I can see where we're going with it. Just because other people hear that and they're like, oh yeah, totally. I'm repeating back to you. Yes, CEO, yes, operator. I get it. Like it doesn't mean that in their mind, they are seeing the same picture. Remember the picture for the puzzle box, the same picture as you. And doesn't also mean that they are sorting it into what you intend a system, a process, a checklist to achieve for the company the same as you. If you're not even sorting it, they're probably not. And if you're both sort of sorting it, even if it's subconsciously, you're putting them in very different buckets, right? Bucket 1, bucket 2, bucket 3, bucket 4, very different buckets. You're looking at this very differently. So the way to really understand how a process, a new piece of technology, a system is rolling out, a checklist that you want done in your company is not just to know the end goal of what you expect it to accomplish, outcome. I'm very outcomes based. This is like super important to me. So it's not just knowing which of these 4 outcomes you're trying to get it to achieve. It's also being able to measure where any process is at any given time. So there are 5 buckets that I really just think through when I'm looking at process. If we've introduced a process, say I'm introducing a process around how we get social media content live. Okay, so that would obviously fall under the ready to launch system because this is a marketing endeavor. We're talking about putting out great social media content to get more people interested in what we do. And so now I know this. I know I have this checklist. Here's how we're going to do social. It's maybe a little bit of the quality control if I feel like they're putting out, creating, giving me creative that doesn't match at all. But for the sake of this example, let's say it's not a quality control issue. It's just like I need it to exist. I need it to exist as somebody, not the CEO, not the main person. Like I need somebody else to be able to create content, and we need a process of how we do that. Later on, we will go through and check to make sure, like, do we have a process so that once it exists, it sounds as close as possible to what the CEO or CMO wants it to be. You see that? That's a really good example of how enmeshment usually happens. Oh, I have this thing that somebody gave us that's a checklist. And once you start working on this thing with this context and this strategy I've given, and I've given you enough information, it should totally also not only exist, but it should get done on time. And also it should sound like me because I've given enough direction for that to happen, or so and so strategy, or so in this thing that I have here, or listen to this podcast episode because it really inspired me and this is what I want to do. I'm not calling anyone out, I promise. Again, remember, in any given year, I work with hundreds of companies. So this is just true no matter what type of company you have and things that I've heard. So the way that I measure it is in these 5 buckets. So either the process, let's go back to that social media process, it's something we're not currently working on in this quarter, right, or whatever, or we're not working on it yet, but we really do need to start working on this. Or we're currently working on rolling this out and using this checklist. It's 10 to 49% of the way created. The team may or may not be using it. They may or may not be using it fully. Or we're working on it and the team is using the process that exists. It exists anywhere from 50 to 74%. And they're sort of accurate. They're getting close. And then there is that bucket that I mentioned earlier, good enough, which means that the process and the checklist exists and the team is using it with 75% plus accuracy. Now, if you are like me, type A, overachiever, 75% is like too low. I want 100%. I want an A++. I want all the gold stars. I want all the things. But you have to remember, think about how many different types of systems exist. And these are just the overarching workflow buckets that I've documented and distilled down to make it very industry and company size agnostic. Think about how many of these exist. Every single one of these has micro processes, checklists, different types of technology, sometimes multiple pieces of technology that you have to communicate, and it has to communicate with itself and each other. Really just thinking through, if you can get to good enough with the team using it at 75% accuracy, that is good enough for now. Now, what happens if 75% is not enough? Great, then it slides backwards into one of these stages, or it needs a whole new revamp and it becomes either we're not currently working on this, like we know it's broken, we're not coming back to it right now, or we know it's broken and we need to start working on this and we need to think about what do we have to do to scope it out to get here. So I hope that's helpful for you. The key point is to remember, if you ever feel like I have tried to use this process, roll it out, give it to my team, or you're the operator and you're like, I've tried to do this and it's just not working. I just feel so overwhelmed. Like I know where all the pieces are, but people don't tend to know. You're probably not sorting it into phases, like from the social media system that I talked about earlier. In phase 1, maybe it's not about all hundreds of pieces of content existing. Maybe it's about getting 1 or 2 pieces out that are really good. Or maybe you have somebody who's a really good writer, but they're always late. Then it's about like timing it to make sure that they really understand what's due, and maybe they do understand what's due, but they're still really late as a really good writer doing a handful of pieces, not everything. You might need to just think about, okay, how do we really escalate this into one of the meetings to see where they need support and or what the handoff is at any given time. So this is a really good example of something so simple. I would like to consistently get good social media that's not tied to me, that really feels like my voice, that can sell an offer, and I don't feel like it's that hard. Something that's very simple, the picture on the box. This kind of help you sort of sort those pieces to know where to go. So send this, use this next time you are tempted to say it's really easy. It should be really simple to do this thing, or you're sitting at a blank page, not knowing what to do. Send this to your operator, your project manager, anybody who is supporting you with getting these things integrated. And I'll see you next time.